Hi everyone. Okay, so again, same day. Stephanie knows. I've got a glass of water with me this time though. Um, okay, so today, or right now, I'm going to talk to you guys about something that, from working in a pet store, I hear so much about, and it's so frustrating because people have been really miscommunicated to by a lot of dog food companies. And I think a lot of people don't understand um, how a lot of these companies will word things to make it seem um, like there's better quality stuff in a food when it's really not. So the title of this video is going to say the best dog food, um, and really, honestly, truly, I get very frustrated when people say this is the best. Because really, honestly, there is no one the best dog food. There are so many different kinds of dog food out there. What we sell in Canada is not nearly as similar to what is sold in the United States or in Australia or in Europe. There are so many different kinds of dog food brands out there and so many different companies. It's hard to explain to people, why, oh, well, I hear about Blue Buffalo all the time and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, is not the best dog food. Um, it's marketing in itself is kind of, it can kind of go both ways. Um, the dog food that I feed my guys kind of rotates, but we usually stick to Acana, and you will never see an Acana commercial on TV. And I can tell you, hands down, and I'm not the only one, that they are an amazing company. I trust my dog's life with them. And I think that's really important to explain to people. Like, when you pick a dog food, you have to be able to trust your dog's life with them because that's what you're doing. What goes in is going to come out somewhere, and hopefully not out the back end because that kind of defeats the purpose. um, so I'm going to tell you some things, some tips about picking a dog food so that you can pick the best dog food for your dog. Um, Now, I'm going to tell you these things from kind of like the insider scoop. I took a lot of vet tech classes, and I've actually taken classes in nutrition, so I can say this from a scientific point of view, not just somebody who's saying, oh, well, corn is bad for your dog. Now, if you guys are wondering, I just got a tattoo. It's kind of hard to see from that side, and it's really itchy, so if you see me trying not to scratch, that's just me trying not to scratch. Um, so the first thing that people tend to do when they pick a dog food is that they look for something that's familiar. So they see a bag of Iams or a bag of Pedigree, and they go, oh, well, I've seen all these commercials online and they're on TV, and oh, it's just great food. But you have to step back for a second and think, okay, well, what are they saying to me? My newest pet peeve on a pet food commercial, the Iams commercial, actually, says about how they don't use corn and they don't use glutens in their foods, and then right at the bottom of on the screen it says in tiny little letters, check your bag to make sure we don't use corn gluten meal. Um, this to me is such a huge pet peeve of mine when you see pet food companies that have huge varieties of oh, well, this one's specifically formulated for this one's specifically formulated for that, and formulated. um, Dogs' nutritional requirements are pretty much the same across the board. I know you get a lot of people who will argue and say, well, large breed dogs have such big nutritional requirements than small breed dogs. If you look at the extremities, then yes, there are going to be some differences. But within, like, a lab and a retriever, they're going to have very, very similar requirements as far as food goes. Um, and when you see all these I don't want to say corporate gimmicks, but these key words that really get people, enthused about their food. You see, oh, well, I'm not a cow, I shouldn't be eating, I don't eat grass. Okay, well, no dog food has grass in it, but Iams does have a very high content of corn. Um, Same with Pedigree. I was actually on, I believe it was the Pedigree website, and I was floored. They have like an ingredient justification list, for lack of a better term, and the first one on there was corn, ground corn. Your dog does not need corn, and I don't know how to explain this any simpler. Um, I say this all the time at the shop. My boss slash coworker, depending on the day, he laughs because so many people, it's like they have that light bulb moment. Um, Corn to your dog is like bugs to you. Yes, you could eat a grasshopper, and you wouldn't die if you ate a grasshopper, but it's not nutritionally going to do anything because you don't have the enzymes in your body to digest a grasshopper. Now, if I handed you, let's say, they're barking at something. Let's say I handed you something with, trying to think of something that would be equivalent. I'll use meat because lots of people out there are meat eaters. It's a whole other ballgame. I won't get into the statistics of it all. The logistics, rather. If I were to hand you a steak, you would be able to digest the protein in that steak 100 times better than you would be able to the protein in the grasshopper because it's a whole other ballgame. It's not the same thing. It's kind of the same thing with your dog. Yes, there is quite a bit of protein in corn, but your dog does not have enough of the enzyme needed to digest that to make it any use for the body. Dogs do not contain the same kind of saliva we do. Our saliva has a lot of amylase in it. Amylase is used to digest starches and carbs. The only reason dogs spit is so that they can swallow it down faster. Speaking of which, nasty cold. Guys, so if you've ever noticed a dog, it hardly ever chew. The smaller breeds you'll see will tend to chew more, and it's because they don't do the saliva thing. But if you've ever seen a lab eat, it's like down the hatch it goes. And there's no time for that spit to do anything. It doesn't. It just helps them to swallow it back, and down the hatch it goes, and the body does the rest. So to pack all this corn into a dog food is really just ludicrous. It just does not make sense. And your dog can't do anything with it. So when you're picking out a dog food, you need to understand what is and is not good for your dog. Plant proteins are not good for your dog. A small amount is okay because dogs do have amylase in their system, but not enough to justify a large portion of their diet being made up of carbohydrates and greens, and it just doesn't make sense. Guys, they're chasing a cat. Leave the cat alone, please. Yes, you stink. Oh, little bichon. So when you're looking at a food, you need to read the ingredients. And I cannot stress this enough. You need to read the ingredients. Don't take the word of the commercial fancy schmancy colorful bag. You need to read the ingredients because 9 times out of 10, the commercials on TV are very misleading. And when they say that, oh well, we don't use plant proteins, or we use more plant proteins than the other guy, you gotta know what the other guy is, because chances are the other guy could be within themselves. Daisy, stop. So they could be taking dog food A and dog food B and dog food C, and they could all be from them within their own company. Another thing that I want to point out is you're getting into some danger when you see Daisy. Well, not when you see Daisy. Daisy, come here, please. Okay, the 2 that I didn't want. Go lay down, please. Go on your bed. Bed. Oh, now she's gonna mow. Bed. God, I love dogs. When you see a company, and I'll pick Iams because I know a lot of people come in for Iams, and it's like, oh my god. When you see a dog food company that says that they have their Iams, and then their pro nutrition, and then natural and holistic, shouldn't all of their food be like that? Like, why are they making such a gradient? And it comes back down to it. If there is really not much of a difference between their all-natural diets and their regular ones. Um, a lot of dog foods, like Purina, Beneful, they're all part of the same company. Um, Purina, Beneful, Pedigree, a lot of those companies are owned by Nestle, actually, and their ingredients, you don't think their ingredients come from the same place, or that they're made from the same factory, or by the same standards. Uh, a lot of the times, the biggest thing for me is that your manufacturer shouldn't be um, your manufacturers, the people that actually make the food, and um, the uh, the company, like those should be two different things. If you make the food, then you should be the ones that own the food. And that's why I like Acana, is because they are the ones who make their food. They're not shipping all their ingredients off to some faraway factory and pulling ingredients in from Timbuktu and smushing them all together and saying, here you go, marketing people, have at it. So you need to know not only your ingredients, but where they're coming from, and the company itself. And I know it sounds like a lot of work, but your dog's life hangs in this balance of you knowing what you're feeding your dog. So you need to pick a dog food with ingredients that make sense. Dogs are meat eaters. They need to have high quality meats and lots of them. I know a lot of people will just flip the bags over and go, oh, well, it's got 35% protein. Perfect. The problem is that a lot of companies will use plant proteins instead of animal proteins, so that protein number can skyrocket, but that doesn't mean it's using animal protein. It just says protein. So you're going to want to make sure that your first 5 or 6 ingredients are animal proteins. I know that there are very good dog food companies out there that use high quality meat proteins for their dog foods, and that's what you're looking for. Acana is one of my favorites, probably my favorite, period. They are just an amazing company. Um, Blue Buffalo uses very high quality meats. Taste of the Wild I'm a little on the fence about because, again, with the whole manufacturer marketing thing, they're not the same company. And they were actually included in the recall recently of Chicken Soup. So please be careful with which companies you buy and where they're sourced from. There was another one I was going to mention, and it just poof, there it went. It was here, now it's gone. So flip the bag over and actually read the ingredients. I usually say to people, read the first 6 ingredients. That's going to make up the bulk of the food. So if you see one grain or one, non-meat product in those first 6, then one is okay, but, you want to make sure it's number 5 or number 6. I know with a lot of the Acana foods that I pick, usually the first 4 are meat ingredients, and then the 5th or the 6th, depending on which flavor I pick, will be a peas usually, or peas, what's the other one? Potatoes, sometimes oats, depending on if I go grain-free or not. So you really do need to read the ingredients, not just the nutritional profile of the food itself. You also need to know what your dog can tolerate and what it can't. There are so many dogs that come in that have food allergies and their owners have absolutely no idea. I'm going to time out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this video into 2. So in the next part, I'm going to talk about how the ingredients in your dog food are going to affect your dog specifically and why you need to read the ingredients.